Okay, let me challenge you quickly. I'm thinking of a number, right? When I add 5 to it, I get 12. What number am I thinking of? Most of you said 7, right? Now here's the interesting part. You just did algebra without even realizing it. Algebra is simply math where we use letters to represent numbers we don't know yet. So we use letters to represent numbers we don't know yet. We don't. So, for example, if we have x plus 5 is equals to 12. This x is called a variable. So when we're talking about the letters, it's referred to as the variables. It's just a placeholder for a number we're trying to find. So a variable is a placeholder for a number that we are trying to find. So it could be X, it could be Y, it could be A. Variables are just the unknown values, which is the letters. Okay. So when we're talking about the variables, we're talking about the letters. Okay. So you should be able to be familiar with the term variables. And then when we talk about a constant, it is a fixed number. So, for example, this 5 can be referred to as a constant. And the reason why it's referred to as a constant is because it is not going to change. It's always going to be constant. You're always going to add 5 to a specific number to get 12, or 5 to a specific number to get 11, or whatever it might be. But that's just a fixed number. So in order for us to be able to solve this, we obviously need to figure out, okay, we have an unknown number and we're adding 5 to it and we're getting 12. How would we get to our answer? So essentially, this is a basic example. You could just do the inverse of a plus, which is a negative, and just work backwards to find your unknown number. So you could just say 12 minus 5, and that should give you 7, meaning that our variable or our value for x is then equal to 7. So that's just a simple example or simple way to go about it. It does get a bit harder and a bit challenging, but we'll definitely look at those in other videos. So let's look at a real life example. So if you go to the shop and buy airtime and snacks, you don't always know the total immediately unless, you have your calculator open and you're checking the price tag and you literally adding it up as you go, then, technically you would know how much you're going to pay. But let's say you don't do that, okay? So let's say you get something like some airtime. Let's see. Let's say you say let airtime is equals to X, and then let's say chips will equals to 10 bucks. So the total essentially would be the 10 for the chips plus X for however, you know, much airtime you bought. So it could have been 5 Rand airtime or could have been 10 Rand airtime, whatever it is. Let's just say it's an unknown value. So in this case, it's going to be the X. Okay. So this is essentially algebra. So whatever total you're going to, let's say you have 20 Rand and you're like, okay, I have 20 Rand. I have to split this between airtime and chips. So total, and then your chips will cost 10 Rand. Now you're trying to figure out, okay, how much airtime should I get? Let's say you don't know, okay? Because this is just a basic example. So in order to find how much airtime you need to buy, you're just going to say 20 minus the 10, and that will give you 10, meaning that your unknown value for the airtime will then be equal to 10. That's just another example. So, I mean, like I said, it plays a part when it comes to like your real life examples as well. You don't notice it, but it's there all the time. You go to the shops and you're like, okay, I literally have 100 Rand. I need to get whatever I need to get, but it shouldn't exceed the 100 Rand. So now you have these variables, the x, 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 and now you need to make sure that all the x's added up will equals to your 100 Rand, and it can't exceed your 100 Rand. So that is the unknown amount. That's the point that I'm trying to drive home. So this can also be negatives as well. So you could have something where you have, for example, y minus 3 is equals to 7. So again, we're going to get into depth as to how to actually solve things like this. But for now, you can use the method that I was showing you guys by using the inverse. So the inverse of a negative is a positive. So you're going to say 7 plus 3, and that should give you 10, meaning that your y value will then be equal to 10. Because technically, if we say 10 minus 3, it should give us 7. That's one of the ways you can go about it. That's, again, the simplest way you can go about it. There's advanced examples. It gets more challenging, but this is just a basic example. So the common mistakes that we've noticed is thinking that x is always the same number. So every time you think that x and y, your variables, is the same number, that's a mistake that people, actually make. Those numbers can change. The value for x can change. The value for y can change. So don't make the mistake of thinking that the variable value will always be the same. And also ignoring the equation and guessing randomly. Don't guess the answer. Don't guess that, y is equals to 10 or y is equals to 8 or whatever. You need to work it out in order to get the actual value. But basically, this is just a example or a little summary of what algebra is. Okay, algebra is just finding the equation of an unknown variable or an unknown letter. Okay, there's always going to be constants, there's always going to be a variable, and your equal sign. There's ways to go about it, but this is just an example. Another thing is letters to represent numbers we don't know yet. Okay, so we don't know it, so that's algebra. So this can come in handy when we're talking about word problems, when they say someone is X years old and someone is 3x years old. How old is the first person? Things like that. That is an example of algebra. So I hope this was a pretty decent explanation when it comes to the basics, when it comes to what algebra is. So in the next video, I'll show you how to turn words into algebra, and that's where exams start getting tricky. So we're going to be looking at more advanced examples. Just stick to this, and yeah, just hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe for more videos like this, and let's get this algebra tackled.